Mailbag coming up here on today's edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Senior. Hope all of you out there are having a fantastic weekend. And as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Excited to open up the floor and take questions from the Niner gang and the faithful. First, a programming reminder and a programming alert. We'll be live for a Niners-Cardinals watch party on Sunday for Week 11. Turn on your notifications when you do hit that sub button by hitting that bell icon and select all. Therefore, anytime we publish a video, anytime we do a live show or a watch party, you will get that push notification. Ski! Getting us started with this one. Brock Purdy shouldn't play. Keep him healthy. Mac Jones is doing fine. So obviously, the injury status of Brock Purdy all throughout the week has been a big topic of conversation. And if he continues to progress well in the lead up to this game, Brock Purdy is going to play. Now, I do think that you make a fair point, but this is my opinion on this, right? If you play a less than 100% Brock Purdy and he can't move around and he's not mobile and he can't create out of structure, is he better than a 100% healthy Mac Jones who in 8 starts this year has been a really solid quarterback for Kyle Shanahan's offense? I'd rather take the 100% Mac Jones than the less than 100% Brock Purdy. But I understand where pressure is coming from. From Purdy's standpoint, he's a fiery guy. He's an uber competitive person, right? And this has been the case for him throughout his football life. He's also been an underdog at Iowa State and in the NFL when he was selected with the final pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. He also just signed that contract. He has seen Mac Jones play well. He's seeing Tom Brady and Adam Schefter saying he might not get his job back if Mac continues to play at this level. And from the Niners standpoint, they're like, look, you might not be 100%, but we believe in you. You're our franchise quarterback. We just gave you $265 million. Can you get on the field soon to make good on that investment? So obviously there's so much that goes into it, but we'll see how he plays on Sunday and how he looks on Sunday. Because if the Niners lose this game and they drop to 6-5, not going to be good for their hopes of trying to make the NFL playoffs, given how loaded the NFC is as far as records go. Justin Spears, how much of an impact do you think Keon White will have against the Arizona Cardinals? I think he's going to have a good impact. I mean, when he made his debut against the New York Giants, his pressure rate was very good. He was able to push and collapse the pocket. He is a powerful player who is able to win with a bull rush and a lot of physicality. And I think the Niners really like him because he can play defensive end. He can also play defensive tackle. Is he a twitched up, quick and explosive defensive end? No. That's why he has more success rushing from the inside compared to the outside. But I like this move for San Francisco at the time. They gave up a late round pick for him. He was a former second round pick. Last year, he graded out well, did some nice things on tape, had solid production, and I think he's been pretty solid for the Niners. The other thing with why I was bothered, why San Francisco didn't make a move going into the deadline, who the hell are the defensive ends going to be to start next year? Nick Bosa might not be back. Mykel Williams might not be back either. And for Mykel, it's probably likely that he's not back for week 1. So you're looking at the same situation potentially to start next year where the Niners are thin on bodies at defensive end and along the defensive line. The important thing about Keon White, he is under contract and he can continue to build within this scheme. Niner faithful, 80-80. I imagine that's for Jerry Rice. Well done. GOAT. Can the 49ers add any free agency players still? Anybody worth taking a look at for the 49ers? Yes, they could sign anybody in NFL free agency if they want. Obviously, they can't trade for anybody because the NFL trade deadline was last Tuesday. But yeah, if the Niners wanted to add somebody in free agency, they could elect to sign somebody to help out their football team. There is one free agent that really comes to mind who I would love for the Niners to bring in, and it would help to fix what has been a pretty glaring weakness all year long. Now, I know that I have clamored for the Niners to play a lot of their younger players, but I think this player, who's very well accomplished, would be able to help some of the young players at a position in which those individuals have struggled at. That's at the safety spot. And the player who I'm talking about is Justin Simmons. He is a 3 or 4-time second-team All-Pro. He's not far removed from being an All-Pro player in this league. And he's good on that back end. He's a ball-hawking safety. The Niners can't cover at the safety position right now. He's so smart. He's so heady. And he's a great character inside the locker room. I mean, when he was with the Denver Broncos, he was the consummate pro, team captain. Last year, he played for Atlanta, didn't play well. That was one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They couldn't get after the quarterback. They were dead last in sacks and sack percentage, right? And so, in turn, the back end struggled a little bit. And I think that Justin Simmons is a guy who you can have, who's been durable as well, who can, at the very least, be a depth piece for you moving forward to help out your young safeties who are struggling. Malik Mustafa, Marquise Siegel before he got benched, Jair Brown as well. So Justin Simmons is the free agent who I would love for the Niners to bring in. Asante Samuel Jr. signed with the Steelers practice squad. He worked out for the Niners on Monday. The only way that the Niners could sign him is if they added him to the active roster and poached him off that Steelers taxi club. Black Mask, should we trade for some bubble wrap to keep Ricky safe this week? Unfortunately, you can't trade for anything right now, even bubble wrap, because the NFL trade deadline is over. And I love Ricky Pearsall as a player. He's dynamic. He's elusive. He's explosive. I love his route running. I really like his footwork. I like how he plays bigger than his size. He's a willing blocker. He can make things happen after the catch. But injuries are a concern. And don't get me started on me trying to, or you thinking that I'm blaming Ricky Pearsall being injury prone on the gunshot. It's not what I'm saying at all. Before the gunshot wound during his rookie year, which obviously derailed his first season in the NFL, he dealt with hamstring and shoulder issues. This year, he has dealt with hamstring and knee issues. So he has been an injury-prone player if you just talk about the amount of injuries that he's had in his first 2 years in the NFL. Hopefully, he could stay healthy because this Niners offense certainly needs him on the field, helping out this passing attack. Let's get to our sponsor before we pop back to taking your questions here. The 49ers Report is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, it never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks, it's the place to get action on football in more than 40-plus states, and that includes all of you tuned in from California. It's the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Brock Purdy's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Our 3-pick power play for Niners-Cardinals on Sunday. Christian McCaffrey more than 53.5 receiving yards. George Kittle more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Trey McBride more than 67.5 receiving yards. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Our guy Chua, can we have a running back by committee, and can we please use 2 running backs? So I talked about this on the show this week. I would like to see more from Brian Robinson. I think that Brian Robinson is a really good player. He's added a different dimension to this Niners ground game. This Niners offensive line is not that good. Sometimes you can just null and void that by just running hard. And B-Rob gives this Niners backfield something that they used to have with Jordan Mason. The ability to run over guys, lower his shoulder, and get some of those tough yards. And in his last 2 games, Chua, we've seen Robinson play very well. 5 carries for 53 yards, 10.6 yards per carry, and a touchdown against the Giants. And then against the Rams, 8 carries for 42 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Would not mind, as you look at his numbers the last 2 games right there, seeing more 21 and 22 personnel, where you have McCaffrey and Robinson on the field at the same time. McCaffrey has maybe lost a little bit of a step, not that much of a step, I mean, he's still been excellent this year, but at times, like, this ground game looks really powerful and really dynamic with Brian Robinson running the rock. Back-to-back weeks in these two games, he's had truck stick, run you over, highlight reel-worthy touchdowns. And I just think that he's a good player. What's interesting is that the knock on him at Washington was that he was big and physically built, but he didn't always play like it. I don't think that's been a problem for the Niners, and I think that's a credit to Bobby Turner and Kyle Shanahan for coaching him up. They both have done a great job of developing running backs over time. Mark Munoz, is the Super Bowl window closed for a few years, or can we retool the offensive line with draft picks and go full send next year? Look, it really depends on what these draft classes shape up to be, right? Like Renardo Green and Dominic Puni, for instance, in their first years were pretty damn good. And in both of their sophomore campaigns here in year two, they struggled a little bit. Ricky Pearsall is the player who, when healthy, has been really good, but hasn't been able to stay healthy enough. Jacob Cowing's never been able to see the field. Isaac Arendo is talented, runs 4.3 at 220 pounds, but the Niners traded for Brian Robinson because he's always hurt. You look at the draft class this year, Mykel Williams tore his ACL. Your second-round pick, Alfred Collins. I like what he can become. Nick Martin, can't see the field. Upton Stout, been up and down. CJ West, healthy scratch. Marquise Siegel, benched. Connor Colby, really struggled. Curtis Rourke from Canada. What do they call him? The Maple Gunslinger or whatever. You know, he's coming off an ACL injury from last year. And so we don't know who he is. So it's really going to be based on these draft classes, because for a little stretch there, the Niners had some awful draft classes. 2021, 2022, and 2023. They had 3 third-round picks in 2023. Jair Brown, Cam Latu, Jake Moody. Yikes. So when you miss on those picks, that's what causes the Niners to have a reset year and a rebuild year like they've had this past offseason going into this year. So if you load up on draft picks, if you can stay healthy, if you make some good moves in free agency, the talent is still there to make a run. But obviously, there's a lot that has to go right and happen in order for the Niners to be bona fide Super Bowl contenders. Because how far are they away from the likes of the Rams, the Eagles, the Seahawks, and others inside the division? Ski. Do you think that we should have gotten Jalen Walker instead of Mykel Williams? That was the player who I wanted to go with. Jalen Walker, the Georgia teammate, to Mykel Williams. I just like players at edge who are more explosive than Mykel Williams. Now, what I always like to see is some more college production. Walker and Mykel had okay, solid production, not great. I think a big thing to consider and factor in there is that they were playing alongside so many other NFL players. And so at times their snaps would be down because Georgia was so deep and talented. But Jalen Walker is a player who I liked better because I thought he had more upside than Mykel. Mykel is going to win with a bull rush, but he doesn't really have a pass rush arsenal. He's a good edge setter against the run, but he's not really going to wow you with explosive and quickness. And how I want to get after the quarterback is with explosive bend and quickness, quick twitch. And that's what Jalen Walker has that Mykel Williams lacks. Wet Noodle 187. Who do you want to win more, the Hawks or the Rams? Good question. I mean, they're both 7-2 right now, I believe. The Seahawks, since losing week 1 to the Niners, are 7-1. The Rams, since choking away that game to the Eagles, have won 4 games in a row. So these are 2 of the hottest teams in football, and obviously they don't like each other at all. Can I pick neither, Wet Noodle? I don't want to see either win. How about a tie? A tie would certainly throw a wrench into the NFC playoff standings. Yeah, it's hard to answer. I would say I dislike the Seahawks more, if that helps answer the question. Speaking of NFC West games, Niners Cardinals on Sunday. Who you got? Type SF for San Francisco. AR for Arizona. Both teams banged up. Both teams really need this win.